You're watching This Week in Louisiana Politics with Fred Childers.
Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Fred Childers. Thanks for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics on your local election headquarters. Well, just a week ago, Governor John Bel Edwards said the healthcare system in New Orleans could have been overwhelmed by April 10th. At his news conference on Wednesday, the governor had a more positive outlook on the healthcare system in that area.
Right now, what I can tell you is the modeling does not show that we will exceed bed capacity or ventilator capacity anywhere in the state of Louisiana in the next 10 days. When you start trying to get beyond the 10-day period, you're really guessing more than anything else, and I don't want to engage in that. And look, I recognize that what I just said is very different than what we said last week. That's because we have different facts this week.
All right, a little bit of good news there. Governor Edwards also stressed at Wednesday's news conference, even though the numbers are starting to trend in the right direction, people still need to follow the social distancing guidelines and the stay-at-home order that are currently in place. Well, state government leaders say they're willing to spend whatever they have to in the fight against coronavirus. Now we're getting a sense of how much they are spending. Harrison Golden follows the money.
Amid an outbreak of respiratory distress, the state of Louisiana is opening its coffers.
There's a huge amount of money being spent.
That's Jay Darden, the state's budget chief, who says as of Tuesday, Louisiana has spent more than $593 million on the coronavirus response since mid-March. Most Louisiana agencies have put at least some money toward the fight, but here are the biggest running lines. The Department of Health near $21 million, and the Governor's Emergency Preparedness Office passed $554 million. The multi-agency rush to build a temporary 2,000-bed hospital at New Orleans' Memorial Convention Center is itself costing 9 figures.
So it's unlike anything we've experienced and unlike anything that America could truly prepare for.
But Darden maintains the state isn't footing the whole bill. The federal government today is covering 3/4 of Louisiana's cost, and once state coronavirus spending soars past $661 million, the feds will front 90%. That could happen within the week, though Darden says that won't change the $36 million revenue hit the state has taken so far, largely to higher ed and tourism.
We were on track to have a much better financial picture for the state going forward than we have had in a number of years, but all that now, of course, is yesterday's news.
Though Darden says with Louisianians' help, the state's fiscal news can at least brighten a little once the pandemic subsides.
I think you will see the people in this state wanting to travel and wanting to spend money and wanting to go to restaurants and restore some semblance of a normal life.
Those expenditures.
And Governor John Bel Edwards argues those rosier days won't happen unless state resources protect the state's people, whatever the cost.
We have to be prepared for what is the worst case feasible scenario because we don't want to lose life unnecessarily.
Governor Edwards says he is willing to expand hospital bed capacities in other parts of the state as needed. Well, hundreds of thousands of Louisiana small businesses are struggling due to the coronavirus pandemic. Right now, they have access to federal Small Business Administration disaster aid. Dion Guillory explains the options that are out there.
No customers in chairs, no buzzing coming from clippers, and no heads under the dryer. This unusual silence is the new temporary normal for Gerald Anderson.
What it used to be is us in and out the shop, cutting clients, meeting new people. Now we're just at home.
Anderson had to close his shop Attractive Cuts and Styles after the governor put the stay-at-home order in place. He says he and his 4 co-workers are now feeling it.
We need some assistance.
Anderson's business is just one of 440,000 in the state that can now apply for small business loans. Under the recently signed CARES Act, there are now 4 options.
The Payment Protection Program, EIDL loan advance providing up to $10,000 of economic relief to businesses, Express Bridge loans, and debt relief.
The portion of the loan that they use for payroll, rent, mortgage, or utilities will be forgiven as
Senator Dr. Bill Cassidy says business owners will then be able to borrow from the bank they work with on a regular basis. Anderson is hoping to open his doors again soon.
With the SBA loan, we'll just keep things afloat.
There are several Q&A sessions about the SBA loans available, and you can find that information by finding this story on our website. Just go to brproud.com. Well, days before the latest unemployment numbers go out, the head of Louisiana's Labor Department is urging self-employed and gig workers, that would be the artists and performers, that federal help is on the way. Now, you might recall D.C. lawmakers advanced measures to give so-called independent contractors as much as $600 a week. And while the money hasn't come yet, it's likely to make its way to the state within the next few weeks.
We'll get through this together. We need to be patient with one another, understanding of the challenges that this brings, the uncertainty that this brings, but we will get through this together.
The federal unemployment dollars are retroactive. That means people with little or no work should still file their claims with the Louisiana Workforce Commission, so the state knows how many weeks to cover. About 155,000 Louisiana residents filed for unemployment claims through the end of March. Households and businesses looking for cash wherever they can may have a bit of good news. Louisiana Treasurer John Schroeder's office has released more than $4 million worth of unclaimed property checks. Schroeder says there's no paperwork you need to file. All you need to do is open your mailbox and see what the state owes you.
People aren't able to work and need a couple dollars. It doesn't hurt. It is the most favorite part of my job.
Office says roughly 1 in 6 people in Louisiana qualify for unclaimed property checks. The average check is worth roughly $900. So you could use that for sure. Arkansas is helping out the Pelican State with some badly needed medical equipment. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson says he's arranged for some of his own state's ventilators to be sent to Louisiana. We've gone over what a ventilator is before. Now, it forces air into a patient's lungs when they cannot breathe on their own. That's a little bit of an oversimplification, but it's a critical tool in the fight against COVID-19, which can cause serious complications in the lungs.
Well, I've asked them to send 5 ventilators and to coordinate that transfer of ventilators to Louisiana, because this week I know Governor Edwards is going to be confronted with a real challenge.
Governor Edwards said at his news conference on Wednesday, 45 ventilators will be heading to the Shreveport metropolitan area as well. Texas has officially started screening people driving in from Louisiana. Checkpoints popping up all along the state line 1 week ago today, like this one on Interstate 10, with Texas state troopers instructing people coming from anywhere in Louisiana to self-quarantine for 14 days.
I think it's great that they're trying to protect Texans. Since I am a Texan, I'm coming back home, so I think it's great.
Passengers flying from New Orleans to any Texas airport are also being screened and are required to self-quarantine for 14 days upon arrival. Well, the traps are coming up full, but the demand is not meeting the supply of crawfish this month. The week leading up to Easter Sunday is usually the busiest, but COVID-19 has crawfish farmers struggling to make income during the season's most profitable time of year. Now, we spoke with one crawfish farmer in Morganza. He says this year his farm will probably lose about a little over 20% of their average income.
We got to hustle to try to move the crawfish in any way we can. If that means dropping the price, not catching as much, we're still going to try to make the money on that.
Now, they say this season the farm will take a hit financially, but they are confident the farm can recoup lost income next year. There's always next year. Speaking of crawfish, Senator John Kennedy and other Louisiana lawmakers wrote a letter to USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue asking for part of the $9.5 billion given to the USDA by Congress in the CARES Act to be used to help out Louisiana's crawfish industry. In the letter, it states the crawfish industry provides more than $305 million to the state's economy. The letter also states crawfish has lost 60% of its market value during peak crawfish season this time around. Coming up, the economy, as we just mentioned, taking a big hit from the pandemic. We're on the phone with U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy about why it's important for the recovery that we identify who has developed an immunity to COVID-19. Stay with us. Welcome back to This Week in Louisiana Politics. As promised, we have on the phone with us U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy. He's going to talk to us about the latest efforts in the battle against the coronavirus. Thanks for coming on the show, Senator.
I'm glad to be there. Wish I could be with you in person.
Yeah, but we're doing this social distancing thing, and actually I think we're getting kind of good at it. So we wanted to approach this, the battle against coronavirus. We're going to approach it from two angles with you because we want to do the legislative angle and then the medical because you are a doctor. First, let's talk about this article you wrote in the Wall Street Journal. The headline reads, "We need to know who's developed immunity to coronavirus." Why do we need to know that?
Couple things. If you know you're immune, you don't need to wear a mask. If you're the nurse or the nurse's aide, you can work in a nursing home, and you don't have to fear infecting somebody else or fear getting infected. You're a bartender. You can wait on people, again, not fearing that you're going to get somebody sick. You won't get sick. So once you're immune, you get a lot more freedom in how you live your life, but you're also free to provide essential services. If you're not immune, by gosh, you better wear a mask if you're diabetic, hypertensive, or a little bit older. So knowing if you're not immune is also important. You know to continue to take those precautions.
What are the logistics in getting everyone tested for this?
So the logistics are being set up now. One, the federal government is going to pay for free, widespread testing for the American people. And those tests are being rolled out now. And we expect, although they're limited, I was told this morning on a phone call with the Vice President and others that they want to have the ability to test 10 million Americans a week by 1 to 3 months from now. So it's about 50,000 a day now. We're going to 10 million a week within 1 to 3 months. Secondly, we've got to kind of keep track of that. That's the big thing. For that, I'm suggesting we do what we currently do with childhood vaccinations. When you get vaccinated as a kid, when you're born, they vaccinate you. Within the first week, when you're age 10, when you're 15, when you're 17, all goes into an online database. HIPAA protected, but the kid goes off to school, goes online, finds his portal, downloads it, hands it to the admissions officer, you're good to go. Join the military, same thing. So we have protections around this that take care of the data, but when you need it, you can pull it down. That's what we should do with this information as well.
It sounds like by some of the things, like you were talking about the bartenders and things like that, it sounds to me like the things you listed, we're trying to help jumpstart the economy again.
Absolutely. We got to figure out how to get out of this lockdown. And the sooner we figure that out, the better for everybody. You know, I worked in the charity hospital system as a doctor for 25 years. I learned your physical health and your financial health are linked. If you got a balance between the two, you're doing great. You can work yourself to death and your health goes to heck. Or you can do everything for your health and you got no money and then your health suffers. We need that balance between the two. And right now, it's so shifted to controlling the virus, we're losing some of our financial health.
We also want to talk about your effort. You want building infrastructure to be part of any new stimulus package.
I think, working Americans are being hard hit by these layoffs. So what if we say, wait a second, the federal government can borrow money at 0% interest rate. 0%. What a great time to invest in infrastructure. Those working Americans that work in construction, you got a job. By the way, then we start pulling through on manufacturing. Think of all those people making plastic products up and down the Mississippi River. And when you do that, you stimulate demand in the oil and gas industry, and you stimulate demand in the service industry. And by that, you get working Americans working, but you also take care of a lot of pent-up need for infrastructure that then adds to your economy going forward. Wouldn't it be great to have a new Mississippi River Bridge in Baton Rouge? That would be great, and we need one.
Let's switch over to Dr. Cassidy now. I was watching your town hall the other day. You streamed it online. You were at, I believe, The Advocate. By the way, I chuckled a little bit when you talked about how The Advocate's not always fair to you. I'm guessing that was political. I did. I laughed out loud. I LOL'd. But you had also mentioned washing your hands, and we hear that over and over again, and we almost don't hear it anymore because it's repeated. But I thought you did a good job of describing why washing your hands with warm, soapy water is important.
The virus has a coating of fat around it. If you dissolve that fat, the virus dies. And so if you put hot water, particularly hot soapy water, soap dissolves fat. Doesn't have to be antibacterial soap. Soap dissolves fat. And so if you wash your hands for 20 seconds, about how long it takes to sing happy birthday to you, you will dissolve that fat, kill the virus. Similarly, 70% alcohol hand sanitizer. 70% alcohol will dissolve the fat. The Lysol and the Clorox wipes we use dissolve the fat. It's all about dissolving that fat around the virus. Wash your hands 20 seconds, you're in good shape.
All right, Senator Cassidy, we have run out of time. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, and I look forward to the day that we can do it in person again.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This is your local election headquarters.
Welcome back. In less than 3 weeks, almost 40 seniors will graduate 1 month early from Franciscan missionaries of Our Lady University Nursing School, a month early to head to the front lines during the COVID-19 pandemic. Abby Rocha talked to a few who say they feel more ready than ever.
Nearly 40 nurses made the decision to fast-track their graduation and join the front lines of the battle against the COVID-19 pandemic.
We don't get the fancy graduation or the fancy penning, but knowing that we're going to be able to help our community when they need us most, and that we're going to provide this amazing service and help out all the other healthcare heroes out there right now, that's enough.
These brand new seniors say they are focusing more on excitement than fear.
I feel like we've been preparing for this to get into the field of nursing for a while now, for a long time.
They will offer their gift at a time they are needed most.
Especially now, especially when we're dealing with something this huge, we really just need to pull together as a community and as a family of healthcare professionals and be there for each other to get through this.
It's all hands on deck. I think we all have to work as a team.
The class of 2020 will be a part of a historical fight against an invisible enemy.
I feel really just grateful and privileged to be able to be a part of something so big and to know the impact that my classmates and I are going to have.
As of today, the seniors are just 2 weeks away from graduation. We wish them well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is your local election headquarters.
Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics. I'm Fred Childers. I'll see you next Sunday right here on your local election headquarters. Stay safe.